All right, this video will take you through how to get started, how to model the section removed part. We're going to go ahead and start with the top shaft holder, this boss at the top of this thing. We're going to go ahead and create a diameter circle that's going to be 6. And we'll go ahead and create a diameter 4, and then we'll make our extrusion of 3. I'm going to pull back out here and get into a new file that I've opened up in Inventor. We'll grab my 2D sketch tool, grab a work plane, and start modeling or creating the geometry. Coming out here from center, we'll start out with a diameter of 6, and then we're going to pull out again, and we'll do a diameter of 4. Finish the sketch, and then let's go ahead and extrude that feature to 3 inches. All right, so now we have our first piece we're going to start building off of. All right, so let's jump back to the drawing and take a look. So it's got this back to it. All right, looks like some type of a flange. It's running down off of it. But then we also have a base. This is probably at some point going to be attached or welded to something else. So this base is also needed in order to then set up the flange locations and stuff of that nature. So why don't we go ahead and offset some distance down, and let's go ahead and build the base out next. So it looks like from center down to the bottom of this base is 11 inches. Let's go ahead and draw a line down from that point. So let's go ahead and we'll get a sketch, and I'll spin this thing around, put the sketch on what will be the back of my part, grab my line tool, and just draw straight down 11 inches. And then I can go ahead and start sketching in the base down here at the bottom. So I'll jump into here and see, well, how big is this base? Base is 8 inches, so I can go 4 in one direction, up an inch, 8 and 1, and then we'll extrude that part. So we'll jump back to here, and I'm going to go from center out. We'll go 4. We're going to come up 1, back across 8, down 1, and then close up this loop. And now finish the sketch, and now I can do the extrusion. So we'll go ahead and extrude this. Obviously, make sure I'm getting this to go in the correct direction. And we'll take a peek to see how far do we go. Well, this looks like 4.75 from what would be the back of the part. So we're back here, and we set this up to go 4.75. There we go. So now we can see we've got 2 extrusions, and they're not tied together. They're just floating, which is fine. We're now going to go ahead and start setting up the back flange and tie these things together. All right, so now let's jump back into the drawing. And so we came down 11 inches. That built up our part. That part's sitting here. So this flange is flush with the back of our part. And it looks like we got tangent lines running from the top of this piece all the way up to here, both sides. And so now we just got to get that all drawn out. So let's go ahead. We'll get a sketch put in place. And again, I'm going to flip this thing around so I'm looking at it from what would be considered sort of the back side of the part. We'll grab a 2D sketch, place it on the back face. Now I'm ready to start getting some geometry drawn in here. Now I'm going to mouse over my part here. Oh, and it looks like I've got my project geometry set up, and it's turned off right now. So I'm going to just click project geometry and go ahead and start selecting that line there. So I have that in position. And it also will go ahead and select geometry up here to project that. So I have that as a useful piece of geometry. Now I grab my line tool, and then I get my green lock point. So I'm going to do green lock point to here, and then bring up to here. And I'm just going to let this run long. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to say constraint, Mr. Tangent Constraint, click on line, go ahead and click on circle, and now I have a tangent constraint to that outside edge. I'll grab my trim tool and trimity the end point there. Do the same thing on this side. Lock, come long, tangent constraint to the outside circle. It locks in position, and then let's do trimity, and now I should have my part. Now, I'm going to go ahead and add the rest of this geometry down here. So I'll grab my circle tool, and I'll click. I'm going to pull out to here till it locks, and then again, trim the top because I don't need it. And then I'll go ahead and create a line across the bottom so I know that I have a nice tight closed loop. Finish the sketch, and now let's go ahead and use my extrude tool. And then, whoop, let's not go that direction. And let's all check the thickness too while I'm at it. The thickness of this part is 0.75. So this mounting flange coming up here, or this back flange is 0.75. So we're going to highlight this and type in 0.75. Change the direction, and then hit okie dokie. And now we got yourselves your back flange. All right, so the next feature we need to address, let me find my drawing, is this center rib, okay? And the center rib has been cut out, all right? So the center rib has portions of it removed, probably to make this a little lighter. It looks like it might be a big, heavy part, so all we needed was a little stiffener here, but not the full piece. So let's go ahead and build the rib, and then we'll punch out these center pieces. So we can go ahead and we can use the rib tool again if we want to do that. To do that, first we got to get a sketch that's going to run right down through the middle of the part. To do this, probably the best thing to do is to work with a plane. So let's do a plane, and let's say mid-plane between two planes, because I've got this plane out here I can work with. And then if I slide this around and turn this over here, I got this plane over here. So if I select those two planes, mid-plane between two planes, I now have a plane going right down through the middle of my part. So with that set up, I can take and put a sketchy sketch on that plane. Grab my sketch, grab my plane. Now I'm drawing. All right, so now we're ready to go ahead and add some geometry so we can then get a rib to appear. So I'm going to grab my line tool, mouse down here, and oh, there we go. My project geometry is not on. I'll grab project geometry first, and I want to go ahead and project this geometry right here so I have that to work with. And then I'm going to project this geometry so I have that point to work with. So I'll grab my line tool, then go ahead and I'm going to click on point and go to point. Now, what I'm going to also do is I'm going to take and extend this geometry. So I actually have a line running over top of that projected geometry. I'm going to take and I'm going to extend the line just a little bit up here. I'll take it like 0.25 and let that extend up here. And the reason why is I want that rib to extend into this rounded surface so that it doesn't stop, okay? So with that, I'll go ahead and turn my sketch a little bit. I don't need that projected line anymore, so I'm going to get rid of that. And down here, that can stay because I'm going to actually let that extend all the way inside that part. Not a problem. All right? All right, so now we're going to go ahead and finish the sketch, grab the old rib tool. I'm going to mouse over this line, go ahead and select the line. Also grab, select that line, and is it going to give me, nope, got that. And I guess it's pulling underneath of there to that extended line, but we're going to see if this is going to work out here for me. So I change the direction and it does start to show up. There's the rib, all right, it's extending through. I'm going to go ahead and then change this. What is the thickness of this thing? This is 1 inch. So back here and then say instead of this being 0.1, it's there. That looks a whole lot better. Hit OK. And you can see how the rib is extending and cleaning up here. And it's going down and extending into our part. Alright, so to get the rest of this thing cut out, so we're going to cut out these portions, we need to understand what we're going to do here. And let's use our offset tool. Instead of having to draw all these lines and geometry, let's just offset the lines that we have there. So let's work and focus on the bottom one first, where we're going to come and we're going to offset up 0.25, and then also use the same 0.25 for the offset for the back. Then you can also see this top one is a 0.25 offset also. So frankly, we could probably just do a loop offset in the beginning. So let's grab our sketch tool. We'll go ahead and place the sketch on this part face. Grab the offset tool, and since my geometry projected for me, I can then just click and start pulling in, and you can see that I have a loop already selected. If you do not get a loop because your loop is turned off, meaning offset tool, right click, loop select is not on, then you would basically be getting a single line. Well, that's okay, but then you got to do it's too much work. So make sure if you click on offset, if you mouse over this and you don't get the whole loop, right click and make sure loop select is turned on. Then when you click on it and pull in, you can see you're pulling the whole loop. Now go ahead and offset it 0.25 and hit enter. Now you've taken care of the top and the back and also the front. Alright, so now let's look at this size, because I basically have this, and this all taken care of. So we got the front, the top, and the back. 1.75. I need to offset this line down 1.75. So come into Inventor, grab my offset tool, and this time I don't want the loop. So I'm going to right click and turn off loop select. Then I'm going to click on the line, right click and hit continue and start coming down, type in 1.75 and hit enter. That's going to be my top cutout. But it needs to extend all the way over to here. So I'm going to grab my extend tool and just click on this line and then it extends. So that's all happy. The next thing I can do is continue to work my offsets. So I'll go back here and then say I need a 0.25 offset first. Then I need a 2.25 offset down. So we can do that. I'm going to come here. I'm going to grab my offset tool. I'm going to click, right click, continue. 0.25, that's my first offset. Then do this again, right click, continue. 2.25 and continue. Now extend. Oh, now wait a minute. This is going to change too. So let's go back to here. This is 0.30, not 0.25. So this thing gets thicker as it goes down. So I need to go in and let's trim this line first. Good. And let's offset this thing again. We'll grab the offset tool, grab the line, right click, continue, and bring it in this way and do 0.3. Okay. And then we got to just make sure this extends to hit 0.3. Now we're going to come down here and extend and then trim. So this is really just working my way back and forth from extending to trimming to offsetting all these little pieces to make all this work. Delete that, I don't need it. And then we'll go down and continue through the process. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and grab the offset tool, keep moving, right click, continue, come down, 0.25, do the same thing again, select, continue. And this is going to be 2.04, which actually drops directly over top of this line, so I don't need it. I'm going to delete that. And now I'm going to offset this in. That offset is going to be 0.35. So we'll go ahead and grab the project geometry, select the line, right click. Whoops, hold on. Not project geometry, offset, sorry. Right click, continue, bring it in, 0.35, enter. And now I can trim what I don't need. I don't need this. Don't need this or this or this. I can come up here and trim this. I can also then do, whoops, I do need that. I need to extend this little line before I trim that line. Now I can trim this little line. Then I can click on that and just delete the line. So now it looks like we're all set and ready for my extrusion. So I'll just hit finish sketch here, grab my extrude tool, and I should be able to just select these inside pieces and then go ahead and do a negative extrusion at 1 inch, and that's going to go ahead and cut out the center of my parts. Okay, last part you need to do here is your fillets. I got my fillet tool, 1.25, and you could go ahead and work the sketch and just work through and start hitting all your fillets this way. You can fillet through the part, what you're looking at there. You don't necessarily have to keep flipping your part all over the place to see it. As long as you're actually grabbing the line through the part, you can go ahead and do it that way. Hit OK, and then go ahead and save the part, and then this is your removed section view part.